Welcome to our presentation about the OPT packet review. What is optional practical training? Let's find out. OPT is a temporary employment directly related to an F1 student's major area of study. Students may receive up to 12 months of OPT, and they can use it before completing their academic studies, and that is called pre-completion OPT, or they can use it after completing their academic studies, which is post-completion OPT. However, it's important to remember that all periods of pre-completion OPT will be deducted from the available period of post-completion OPT. U.S. Immigration Services, USCIS, it's the government agency authorizing OPT. You're not permitted to work until you receive the work authorization EAD card. You can see the sample on the bottom of the screen. To apply for post-completion OPT, the one that you receive after you graduate, you do not need a job offer. And therefore, while you're an OPT, you have certain benefits. You can work for any job related to your degree. You will receive 90 days of unemployment. You can change employers and can also work for multiple employers. And this type of work authorization many times serves as a bridge for other types of long-term employment visas, such as H-1B.
Alrighty, so just going through some things to remember as you're preparing your application to send to USCIS. USCIS is the body that is adjudicating your application, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. OIPS recommends you for OPT based on your degree completion and status. But you as a student send the application to USCIS, and they will ultimately be the body that is approving or denying your application for OPT. USCIS receives thousands of applications for work authorizations. The I-765 form, which we will be reviewing a little bit later, is used to apply for many types of authorizations, not just OPT. Therefore, it's important to be clear and organized with the information that's requested on the form. Because of the volume of applications, it can also take up to 3 to 4 months to process and send your application an EAD card. Keep that processing time in mind as you're preparing your application and planning for its timeline. Next, we will be reviewing the OPT application checklist and the I-765 application document. This presentation will be most beneficial for students who are ready to apply for OPT and are filling out or reviewing their already completed I-765 document. Before going further, make sure that you have completed the OPT workshop on Blackboard and have applied for your OPT I-20. The instructions for that process will be sent to you after completing the OPT workshop online.
Okay, so now let's review the OPT application checklist. So like Kara said, hopefully by now you have completed the OPT workshop, and if not received the OPT I-20, at least have applied for the OPT I-20. So here is the order in which you should put the documents that you will send to USCIS. First document on the list is the G1145 e-notification. This is optional, but some of you may choose to include that in your application, because if USCIS uses that document, they will send you an email and a text when they receive your documents. However, this is not always 100%. So we always recommend you to use tracking and track your own application to USCIS. Then you should pay for your application. The fee for OPT is currently $410. You can pay for this application either through the credit card form called G1450. You may also pay with a check or a money order. You just need one of these methods to submit your payment with. Also, for your application, you need 2 color passport style photographs. You can click on the link that says photographs to review the exact measurements of the passport style photographs USCIS needs. You should include your name, date of birth, and maybe even CVIS ID on the back of the photos. Okay, let's move on the I-765, which is the most important document of the application. The I-765 application is used for many different applications to USCIS for employment. So not every section of this form may apply to you. However, you should always start in the part where it says start here. Then let's go to part 1, reason for applying. For someone who's applying for the first time for post-completion OPT, you should select 1A, initial permission to accept employment. Then in part 2, information about you. You should include your family name, which is your last name, your first name, and a middle name if you have one. On the other side of that page, there are some sections for further names you may use or legal names you may have. If you do not have any additional information to put here, you can put N/A in the section here. Okay, so let's move to the next page. Here, USCIS needs you to give them a US mailing address. This address needs to be an accurate US address where you want your EAD card to be sent to. So it can be your home address, it can be a family home address, it can be a friend's home address. Some of you may want to use the OIPS office address. However, especially now, during the time of COVID, this may not be the best address to use since we do not check our mail daily. So you may have to wait much longer to receive your EAD card. So choose the address that you want to use here wisely. Now, in the following section about US physical address, please provide them with a physical address if it doesn't match your mailing address. Then the following information, question 8. So A number. Please provide them with an A number if you have one. However, if you're applying for post-completion OPT or OPT, you should leave that section blank. You most likely do not have an A number because you've not applied for OPT before. Also, number 9, USCIS online account number. That should also not apply to you since you're applying for OPT. Leave that blank as well. Question 10 and question 11, please fill those with accurate information. Then question 12, have you previously filed Form I-765? Well, if you have applied for OPT before, for another degree or from another school, please choose the right answer here. The same thing in question 13. 13A, has the Social Security Administration ever officially issued you a Social Security card? Well, if you have a Social Security number, please select yes. If you do not have one, if you do not have a Social Security number, please select no. In 13B, please provide them with a Social Security number if you have one. And then in question 14, do you want Social Security Administration to issue a Social Security card? Well, if you already have a number, then you can select no. And then in section 15, select also no. But then if you need a Social Security number, you will need to select yes in question 14 and fill out the rest of the information so that Social Security can issue you a Social Security card while you're waiting for your EAD card as well. So then we move on to number 18. Please write the country or countries of citizenship in numbers 18A and 18B here. On the next page, you will need to write place of birth. So in 19A, you'll write city of birth, 19B, state, 19C, country of birth. In number 20, please provide them with your date of birth. All right, moving on to 21A, I-94 number. So your I-94 is your arrival departure record. You should have your most updated I-94 record card printed from the online record that you have and write the number here. In 21B, passport number, please provide them with your most recent and accurate and valid passport number here. 21C, travel document number. This again is a section that does not apply for someone that applies for OPT. 21D, country that issued your passport. Please write the name of the country that issued your passport. 21E, expiration date of the passport. Please write the expiration date. Date of your last arrival. The date should be the same date that is reflected on your I-94. 23, place of your last arrival. That can be the place that you last arrived in the United States, and it is reflected on the I-94 record. So number 24, immigration status at your last arrival. So for many of you, you entered the United States as an F1 student, so you can write that here. But for some of you, you entered the United States on a different status and changed your status in the United States. So please remember to enter the right status here of whichever you used to enter the United States last. In number 25, your current immigration status. Well, this is easy. Since you're applying for an F1 status benefit, it should be F1 here. Number 26, SEVIS ID. The SEVIS ID is located on all of your I-20s. It starts with an N on the top left corner of the page. So look on your I-20 and write the SEVIS number here. Number 27, a very important section. Here you signify what kind of employment benefit you're applying for. So for post-completion OPT, you need to include C, 3, B here. Then you need to skip the rest of these sections, because for post-completion OPT, they do not apply to you. So we will go to part 3. In the applicant statement, please check off the right answer and then write the applicant's contact information. And on the other side of the page, make sure you hand sign it and date it. But before you print and hand sign it, let's look the next few pages. So part 4 will remain blank, and part 5 as well. They most likely do not apply to you, since you're not using an interpreter or an attorney to file your application. But part 6 is a section that you may need to fill out. You will need to include your last and first name and middle name if you have one. And in this section, you can include additional information such as previous SEVIS IDs, any previous work authorizations such as CPT or OPT that you've had in the past. For detailed information how to write this information, please visit the instructions that you got by email. Now that we completed the I-765, which was very important, we can take the 2 color passport style photographs and you can put them in a little envelope, and then you can have your payment method. And what we can do is take a paper clip and attach the photographs and the payment method to the I-765. Do not staple them to the I-765, but you may use a paper clip. They are usually processed together. Underneath the I-765 in your application, you should include a copy of your issued OPT I-20, but don't forget to sign it first. Then after the OPT I-20, you should include copies of other previously issued I-20s and put the most recent I-20 first. Also include copies of your passport. You should include your most recent and valid passport for this application. Don't forget to include copies of your F1 visa or a copy of your change of status approval notice, a copy of the I-94 card, and copies of additional documentation, for example, previously issued EAD cards, if you have any. Not everyone will have a document like that. So that should have, if you have all of these documents, that should make a complete OPT application to send to USCIS.
Alrighty, so back again for some final reminders and what to expect after sending your application to USCIS. Just as a very important reminder, USCIS must receive your application for OPT within 30 days of your OPT I-20 issuance. In other words, OIPS recommends you for OPT. That recommendation is valid for 30 days, and USCIS must receive your application for OPT before that recommendation expires. Another thing to note is that you will receive a receipt notice approximately 4 weeks after USCIS has received your application. This notice is not an approval, but it is a confirmation that your application was received and is being processed. You must receive your EAD card before you are able to start working. If you have a particular start date in mind when you're applying, be sure to remember those processing times we mentioned earlier and plan accordingly. It can take up to 3 to 4 months to process these applications and receive your EAD. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. We hope it has been helpful and informative for you. If you have other questions that you encounter while completing this process, please feel free to reach out to our office. We are here to help you through this process.